Welcome to this new CUBE conversation with Simon Jelley, Vice President of Product Management for Cyber Resiliency at Dell. I'm Christophe, Bertrand, Principal Analyst here at theCUBE Research. Simon, welcome, great to have you.
Good to be here with you, Christophe.
So Simon, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so spent 20 plus years in the data management industry and really thrilled to now be at Dell driving the cyber resiliency. We've known each other for a number of years, participating in particularly the archive space, and that's kind of where I really came from originally. So as a founder member at KVS, where I would argue still the market leading product around data compliance, data archiving, data retention still is, and spent a number of years after that being acquired into Veritas, leading their data management portfolio specifically around data protection. So I've got to really participate in data management all the way from large enterprise to the SMB segment, leading both NetBackup and Backup Exec, and also driving their software as a service portfolio.
Right, which gives you a great experience understanding the mid-market, the SME space, the mid-market, the enterprise space, obviously. Data management meets backup recovery meets cyber resiliency.
Right.
Definitely a very interesting time. So what excites you about joining Dell?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, in the process of kind of getting to know the team at Dell, number one, it's a phenomenal team. I know you've spent time with a number of team at Dell, just phenomenal set of technologists, obviously built a ton of relevance in terms of delivering end-to-end. But in particular, what excites me is the opportunity, particularly as cyber and AI, the prevailing needs for customers. What Dell delivers around, number one, cyber, not just from a PowerProtect portfolio, which I'm directly responsible for, but being able to deliver more broadly across being able to look at cyber in terms of the primary storage portfolio, the server portfolio, control of supply chain in terms of thinking about security risks, and all the way to the service delivery. We have fantastic services around manage and detect response services, instant recovery. We really deliver what I would call the whole house rather than just solving a piece of the problem around just data protection itself, number one, on cyber. And then number two, on AI, Dell is clearly driving the supply in terms of being able to drive the needs of AI from a bedrock platform itself moving forwards. And again, we're looking at obviously how we protect that data as part of that whole delivery. So it's really, I've been in other places before where you're just delivering that foundational solution around data protection. Now we can really look at data protection, the concept of delivering the whole solution to customers across cyber and AI, and that really excites me moving forward.
Right, so would it be fair to say that when you think about the portfolio, and you kind of mentioned some of the components here, is that what really drew you to Dell? Because it's got such a wide set of components, and in a sense, that's what cyber resiliency is all about. It's not just the one software, the one piece. Right. It's really having everything from supply chain all the way through. So are there some highlights in the portfolio that maybe got your attention as you're thinking about this?
So absolutely. So number one, the platform that we deliver with PowerProtect around the data protection perspective. Again, we often talk about it's not when it's going to happen, right? Or it's not if it's going to happen, sorry, it's when. Yeah. So having that core recovery platform, that's the foundational element that I get the honor of driving moving forwards in terms of the strategy. But as you say, then it's the connective tissue on top of that, right? In terms of being able to look at the mean time to detect the threat and then really understand the actual, how broad that blast radius has been. We have those components where we can take the signals from the server, the consumer side of the Dell business, from the storage side of the business, right? We've got that ability to bring those signals in and really try and identify and get that detection time down as quickly as possible, and then help that drive the recovery aspect. And then the broader piece is, look, a number of organizations that I've cite that they really don't have the resources when the threat happens, or even at the time of determining the threats themselves. They don't have the manpower essentially to be able to deal with that. So we bring that services element as well. That's something I'd screened for in my previous roles, for example, at Veritas. We don't have the professional bodies that can really help you reduce that time in terms of bringing the hands-on keyboards and the subject matter experts to bring that recovery time down. And again, that's with Dell solutions, but also across all of the infrastructure that customers are deploying will help you from a services perspective too.
So how does your previous experience, you mentioned some of the vendors and technologies you worked with, how does your previous experience align with Dell's vision and mission for cyber resiliency?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny, I think one of the things that I keep, we often talked about previously in my previous roles around, and this is something I've heard you talk about a number of times, that customers don't have a single solution when it comes to data protection, right? They typically have 4, 5 on average, if not more, data protection solutions. And often in previous roles, I've been looking at how do we help customers simplify that as much as possible. But and that applies just as much here, right? We know the constituent of the data protection expert is becoming folded into other roles. You know, and the world is, consumerization of IT in general is demanding that we deliver simpler solutions. So that's very much applying in terms of bringing that experience here. How do we look at delivery with cloud in a hybrid scenario? That's something that we're very big focused on. But I also find it interesting that stat around customers on average have 4 to 5 data protection solutions hasn't changed in 15, 20 years. The reality, the landscape is evolving so rapidly that customers have to keep up with change, but still have a reliable platform that they can drive that resiliency from. And that's what really attracted me specifically to the portfolio I'm managing. If you look at, in particular, the PowerProtect portfolio, we have provided that market-leading platform for recovery for decades now, right? And that's something we will continue to commit to in an open and integrated fashion moving forwards.
And we're going to talk some more about this because experience really matters in this space, and so does innovation, which we'll talk about. Just mentioned AI a little bit. So if you were to net it out, what is your unique perspective? What do you bring to the table that's very different and very unique to the portfolio and to the Dell team?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's that perspective of ultimately having really seen data protection in action from large enterprises all the way down to mid-market companies and seeing that evolution over time. The one thing particularly though, a number of people often question me, why have you stayed in the realm of data management, data protection for so long now? And I think the reality is that the challenges are always changing, right? The environment of IT and infrastructure is changing rapidly over time, and that is only accelerating now at this particular point. And our demand is, how do we continue to provide that foundation, even with such evolution around where are the uses of AI going to drive us, for example, in the future? Who knows? But the core is you've got to still have that data set really protected and manageable. And now data is obviously the new fuel in terms of driving the organization. So even more importantly, moving forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you understand data infrastructure at its core and all of its facets, that's really the game for the future, for either leveraging AI for better management or just to provide data for AI, which definitely is, that's also my position. So I'd like to talk about the vision for Dell Cyber Resilience offering. And actually we have a slide that I'd like to bring up that's really, really good. That talks about your unified cyber resilience vision. So tell us about it. It's got 4 pillars. Walk us through the 4 pillars, maybe starting with the open and integrated architecture one.
Yeah, so from the 4 pillars, starting with the open integrated, I mean, that's really foundation of the promise that we bring. Is number one, we've been known for, again, decades now in terms of being that platform you turn to, particularly with data domain, in terms of delivering that foundational capability around being able to, that's where you've got your safe copy of the data, it's recoverable, and building out the resilience. And we're continued to committing to delivering that platform in an open way moving forward. So again, the Boost ecosystem that we built with a number of great partners, we look at new technology partners as we look at new workloads, as organizations look to rapidly adopt, in bringing new workloads, new data movers, we can integrate those directly into the platform very quickly, so you can tie your data into one recoverable layer itself. And obviously all the great scale and benefits, and we've introduced new capabilities to be able to address the mid-market with our new DD 3410 series, but we've also more recently introduced our all-flash data domains in terms of being able to really deliver at that higher scale end as well. And so any scale, any level of recovery, any layer of data, that's still established our open platform. But what we're also committed to do is deliver that integrated experience. We know more so a referred to area around data protection specialists are becoming not the norm, unfortunately, moving forwards. It's more becoming part of the architectural owner's job, whether that be the cloud architect, the application architect. And they're looking for simple integrated solutions that really embed not just the recovery layer, the data domain layer, but what we typically think about as the PowerProtect data manager layer. And we are very much integrated those with a new unified experience. So that really speaks to the second pillar of future-ready operations. what we're delivering there is that true unified experience where you can manage all of your infrastructure for data protection from a single view, whether that's from a governance and operational reporting, so CISO wanting to understand where they stand from a readiness perspective in terms of their recovery, down to the operational day-to-day in terms of managing the solution. It's all a single console. You're not managing the individual piece parts of the data mover with the actual data domains or individual data domains. You've got a true single pane of glass in terms of providing that management. And as we'll soon talk about, that delivery in a single form factor as well, right? So again, we make it very cookie cutter in terms of being able to deliver that integrated experience moving forwards, while still providing that open depth of architecture and capability as the platform.
Right, and of course that's with AI coming to the rescue, or maybe enhancing or further enhancing the existing automations that you've built.
Absolutely, yeah. So while we've introduced this unified operational capability, it was obvious to really look at the technology of AI as to how do we make that simple to embrace. So yes, we've introduced a new AI assistant that's embedded into that unified management experience. Again, provides that kind of guided journey for the administrators, whether that be proficient operators to more junior operators, in really using AI to help the system and understand what are the best practice policies, spot gaps in their protection capabilities, help them operate the actual recovery capabilities themselves, as well as AI is something that we've obviously embedded into our AI data platforms directly in Dell. Again, back to the broader opportunities for integrating into the AI infrastructure that we're building, where PowerProtect is directly integrating into that as well moving forwards.
Yeah, and if we could bring up the slide one more time, I'd like to talk about the last pillar, which is really about cyber resiliency in many ways, which is how you've really introduced this multi-layered security capability. Tell us about that, because to me, that's really what sort of brings it together in the context of this changing market landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I think ultimately it really comes down to two key things in terms of what we're delivering there. One is, within that unified experience, is really looking at from a business services and business-centric approach. So the traditional world of data protection really typically looks at assets and jobs and managing those things at an individual asset level. Now we're really moving to looking at managing it as a business service and understanding the complexity of what order you need to protect things and then recover things to bring back that true end service. Solve for the outcome of the customer, which is true recovery of the business service itself. Also doing things like making sure that we're in building that security and anomaly detection all the way through from the initial upfront scanning and maintaining the threats, but also building that clean recovery room. I think one of the things we do most uniquely as Dell is really provide that truly isolated copy of your data for recovery. And it doesn't just save you in terms of isolating the solution from a recovery perspective, but really gives you the ability to do the assessment of, is my data truly clean before I drive that recovery itself. And again, obviously moving forwards, there's a lot we're doing around already looking at our compliance moving forwards for things like quantum and building those. That's something that because we can control the whole infrastructure from the software to the hardware layer, we can truly deliver compliance across the stack, rather than you're integrating different components where you're having to be, as the customer, the person that understands, are you meeting those compliance needs? There could be open gateways, obviously, for those threats moving forwards.
Right, and that's starting with the supply chain, as you've mentioned before.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned customers a few times, so let's maybe double click on, if you take a step back, and first of all, we used to talk about RPO and RTO, recovery time. Now I think it's resilience time, or resiliency time, and objectives. So that has changed. But if you think about the customer needs today and what the customers face, how has it changed? What type of challenges do they face today?
Yeah, so I think number one, the biggest piece is, how do they adapt as an organization quickly whilst making sure that they've got that protection of the assets, the governance in place itself. I think there is a massive tension if you look at, particularly AI has just speeded this phenomena. Everyone wants to get in bed with AI and deploy it as quickly as possible. C-levels are demanding their organizations move forwards in terms of looking at how do they experiment with AI to find the business value for themselves. But that's another instantiation of, okay, that's great, but have you looked at the threat vector that brings in? Have you looked at that exposure to your data is now, are you putting that into models that open the security perimeters to the data itself? Are you still making your data sovereignty and regulation goals themselves. So really that's where we step in with, again, an integrated solution, a platform that you can rely on that provides that stable platform for this is data that's well, truly managed. You've got an isolated copy if you need to go recover. You can really look at managing, again, you can look at isolating that from different compliance perspectives, again, thinking about new legislations that are coming in next year in Europe, where it becomes even more of a financial penalty to you if you don't maintain your data and the privacy of that data itself, right? So I think number one, it's how do we help customers evolve and innovate with confidence that the base need of that resilience, that base need of recovery, that base need of managing data privacy and compliance is there in place, right? And that's fundamentally why we provide that open foundation. Number two is the roles are drastically changing within organizations, right? In particular, and I would say this happened even from the virtualization shift now to the cloud wave, now to the AI wave. There's different protagonists, different people that are in charge of how they evolve the architectures within their organizations. And they're not necessarily infrastructure specialists, right? And particularly not data protection specialists. So what we can provide is, again, that known good in terms of we're not just providing a software layer, but a truly integrated experience in terms of driving that. We're making sure the infrastructure truly works with the software to provide that resilience you need, to provide the performance and scale that you need for your particular organization, to, again, provide that isolation, or rather than you having to understand how to put those piece parts together. And again, you can go work on the business of what's your business driving innovation for, in terms of, you know, whether you're a dentist or a lawyer, like you go and focus on driving that innovation itself. So I think that's really our two key customer promises is, right, number one, making sure that we allow you with confidence to move forwards in terms of embracing new architectures, new innovation, while still providing that bedrock in terms of the data protection. And then number two, being able to make sure that you've got that sure recovery piece in place moving forwards, and resilience, as we talked about.
Yeah, there's really no AI without, trusted, resilient data or in infrastructure, and that's really where you come to the rescue in many ways. Okay, let's talk about your competition at a high level. How do you differentiate from your competitors?
Yeah, so again, I think there's a couple of aspects that we look at. Number one is, as I already talked about, the reason why I came to Dell is we truly offer these cyber and AI capabilities and in general data management capabilities end to end, right? It's not just about, yes, we're doing a lot to solve that within the PowerProtect portfolio in terms of providing that open integrated capability, but we're also delivering that end to end within our primary storage, our server, our consumer, and also our supply chain and services capability, right? We truly address the whole house of cyber resiliency, the whole house of AI data, rather than just focus just on the data protection lens itself. So yeah, that's what certainly the power of Dell, if you like, really kind of intrigued me to want to come and how do we make that even easier to consume for customers. And we're already doing things like that with our own cyber resilience capabilities. We're now coupling selling our Cyber Vault capabilities with our managed detect and response services, for example. So you can really drive those end to end. We're taking our CyberSense capabilities and building that from within our own capabilities in PowerProtect, now also into our PowerStore and other storage capabilities moving forwards. And you'll see that cyber resilience unified management extend into that managing the primary platform as well moving forwards. So again, that truly end-to-end experience across the vast empire that is Dell is something that really differentiates us. The other is just providing at the PowerProtect level guaranteed efficiency and scale moving forwards, efficiency and performance. If you look at, I published some blogs recently that really talk to how with our scale up scenarios, we're able to scale up much more rapidly on much less compute CPU network capability than our competitors out there. Typically our major competitors are more scale out vendors, and scale out's great from the promise of start small and then add. But the reality in a time where in particular the cost of server, CPU, memory is becoming exorbitant in terms of the scale of it, it becomes a real problem of cost, manipulation over time. You're adding, literally we've seen, what we can protect for a 1.5 petabyte scale, 2 copy scenario, you're going from a couple of servers with us to tens of servers with the competitive comparisons themselves. So again, that scale, efficiency, performance is something that we guarantee within our platform as PowerProtect.
Yeah, the only thing or statistic we know about the future is that there will be more data.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, let's talk about the future in closing. What is exciting for you when you think about the future of PowerProtect?
Well, stay tuned. Obviously, we've got our Dell Technologies World coming soon, and we're going to be talking more about our announcements around dedicated products around this open and integrated experience. I'm really excited about some of the things that are coming up there that we're going to talk about in terms of that. In particular, as we drive that open integrated approach, how do we link more into delivering even higher scale and capacity for our customers? As you said, the only true thing we know is data is going to increase overall. So really, it's continuing to deliver on this promise of the open and integrated experience that I'm very excited about moving forwards.
Well, Simon, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you. Again, Simon Jelley, Vice President of Product Management for Cyber Resilience at Dell Technologies. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Christophe. It's been a pleasure.
And to our viewers, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Christophe, Bertrand, Principal Analyst at theCUBE Research. We'll see you on the next one.